I want to talk about the women's revolution and why women's wrestling sucks for the most part. And there's some problems with wrestling in general. So before I talk about women's wrestling, I'm just going to talk about the problems in wrestling in general that I see. So the things that have improved, there's better promos, there's better backstage segments, there's more megastars with charisma and aura around them. There's CM Punk, there's Rock. I like Cody Rhodes. I like Roman Reigns. I like Gunther as well. So there's some legitimate stars in wrestling now, right? That's an improvement. That's good. There's too much wrestling, right? And another big problem is there's too much punching. Women's wrestling suffers from that. They need to do more wrist locks, right? Chin locks, head locks, right? As intermission moves. They need to do wrestling and grappling as their intermission moves in between moves, right? To make the kid look like they're struggling. The problem is they do these punches, like punch, 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 move. So it's like, oh, it's my turn to punch you now. Punch, 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 do a move. Oh, it's my turn to punch you now, do my routine. Punch, 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 move. It doesn't look like a struggle. Like Chris Benoit and Kurt Angle were very good at this. It looked like a struggle. It didn't look like they was going through a routine. It looked like they were struggling to get one up each other, right? So that's another problem with modern wrestling. The commentators are really, really bad as well. I'm not saying like they're bad commentators. It's just that the stuff that they're told to say doesn't sound like real human beings. Commentators should maintain kayfabe 100%. They shouldn't say this sort of thing. They shouldn't say, "Oh, this woman has got star presence and she's got a role due to her star presence," right? Or weird shit like that. I'm paraphrasing, but they said something like that in the Rhea Ripley match, the opener. A sportscaster wouldn't say that. Okay? They just say weird things. And it's because of the weird paces of modern wrestling matches. They speak over it and they don't talk about the moves, what's going on at the time. They don't do that enough. And it's probably hard because of the pace of modern wrestling. They don't talk about the psychology of the move. Like, oh, they're doing that move to tire them out. Or they're doing that move to work on the arm. They do touch on it a little bit, but they don't touch on it enough. Right? The commentary team's very bad. Like, Jesse Ventura, right? Paul Heyman, Bobby Heenan, JR, Jerry Laura, they did amazing commentary that sucks you into it. Good commentary teams kept you watching when the matches sucked. You just like listening to the commentary and they made you believe in what was going on. They sold you what was going on, and that is lacking. So, let's talk about the women's revolution and why it's complete shit. And it's political correctness shoved down our throats, which is ironic because the WWE, when they were shoving this down our throats, was owned by Republicans, right wingers, who pandered to political correctness. So I have nothing against female wrestlers if they're good. Let's just make that clear now. So they have this obsession with giving the female wrestlers equal screen time with the male wrestlers, whether they're worthy or not. So let's give an example. Survivor Series, right? The War Games match. There should only be one War Games match in the event. Less is more. Okay? Like having Hell in a Cell pay-per-views is a mistake. That was a mistake. There's too much. Less is more. Right? The more you show something, the more you water it down. The Rock versus Hogan, WrestleMania 18. That was a special event. Once in a lifetime match. Star versus Megastar. Okay? Can you imagine if Vince went, hey, this was a success. Everyone loved this match. What I'm going to do is have this every week on Raw and them have a 50 match feud for the entire year. It would kill it. Right? So when you have a War Games match and you have it twice, you kill it. So you have the Women's War Games match in the opening, which was okay. It wasn't a bad match, actually. And then you have another one. It kills the anticipation because you've already seen it. You've already seen a watered down women's version of it. And the male War Games match was actually very good. I remember that last year. It was actually very good. I enjoyed it a lot, actually. It was actually very good, but it was watered down. So that's bad psychology, right? Less is more, okay? So, for example, and also psychology, you can only do certain things when the time is right. You can't artificially do it. You can't do, like, if two random jobbers were having a match and one was retiring and he's jabro nobody, and they tried to do the retirement storyline, and they hugged and went, I love you, man, I really look up to you. You're an icon. And they're two jabronis. You're not going to buy into it. If it's like Ric Flair versus Shawn Michaels, you buy into it, right? Or if The Rock did a retirement match, like in a year's time, he did another match, and he's like, I'm retiring, this in my last match, and they did it, you could buy into it, right? You can only do things at the correct moment. You can't force it. There's too much forcing things as well. Now, I'll get into that, because what they forced into the Rhea Ripley and Becky Lynch match was the kick out of the finishers, which is absolutely wrong. Now, I think Rhea Ripley's a megastar. She's the complete package, and she, in my book, already, I don't watch women's Japanese wrestling, so I don't know about that. But in my book, she's the greatest female wrestler of all time. Period. No one touches her. She's the megastar status of Hulk Hogan when it comes to female wrestlers. But she's not going to be a megastar because of the way the WWE is booked and how the modern WWE is. They don't have ultra megastars. They don't have like one ultra megastars. But if things were different, she's actually a female wrestler you could run with and put a company around. She's that good, in my opinion. She is that good. She's like a rare generational talent. So I'm gushing over her. And she deserves it. She's got the presence alone. Her wrestling's good, right? I'm not sure about her psychology, but that might not be her fault. But we'll get into that. But even if she sucked as a wrestler, her charisma and star presence could carry her to be a megastar, right? So, this is why the psychology of Becky Lynch versus Rhea Ripley is completely incorrect and wrong. So, Becky Lynch has no physicality. She's got no physicality. Her moves look fake. She's got no intensity. She's got no spring in the step like a lot of female wrestlers. That's one of the problems with it. And you just don't buy it. Now, they don't have much physicality. You can work your way around it. The way you work your way around it is you don't do things that kill your suspension of disbelief, and they do more grappling stuff. You have to train them to grapple more. They have to grapple more. They do more headlocks. They have to do more arm drags, right? You have to do more simpler, basic moves and more basic psychology, right? Shorter matches, okay? And leave the intense stuff for the male wrestlers or the female wrestlers who can do it, right? So this is what happened in a match. Rhea Ripley hit Becky Lynch with her finisher, and Becky Lynch kicked out. And the whole psychology of the match was, oh my god, I can't put it away. And she was having temper tantrums, and she was raging. Right? That was a psychology. You didn't buy it. That skinny little petite Becky Lynch. You just didn't buy it. You just didn't buy it. So it was really bad storytelling. It was really wonky psychology. Am I nitpicking? No, because I can watch old wrestling and I don't nitpick it. Right? I can actually watch 70s wrestling and enjoy it. I can watch 80s wrestling and enjoy it. I've never watched any 60s wrestling, but I could probably enjoy that. I've watched 70s World of Sport and 80s World of Sport. I've watched 80s and early 90s Japanese wrestling. And I'll get into another thing. Like, I tried watching some like modern New Japan wrestling, and they did these shitty forearms against each other, right? Because I wanted a more realistic wrestling product, and they did these shitty forearms, and they weren't selling them properly. They weren't registering them, and they're just using it as filler moves in between moves. And I'm not watching this shit again. And there's a lot of that stuff in WWE as well. There has to be more actual wrestling. There has to be more chain wrestling. Chain wrestling actually doesn't exist in modern wrestling, in American wrestling. It's just really bad. Like, do they lack the skill to do it? I really hate the punch, 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 transition, move. Punch, 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 transition, moves. And women's wrestling is full of that, especially with the weak ass punches. They do a move, they don't sell the move enough. They back up, punch, 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 move. No sell. So Becky Lynch was no selling Rhea Ripley's moves when she should be getting squashed in 2 minutes flat. That's the only believable result I see. Or this is the way you do it. Rhea Ripley bullies Becky Lynch, brutalises her. She's very arrogant. She's very cocky, right? Okay. She's like posturing. Let's say you're nothing. You're an ant. Blah blah blah. And then Becky Lynch gets a small package roll up and gets a close near fall. And Rhea Ripley gets mad, stops messing about, and just like smashes her with a finisher, pins her 1, 2, 3. 10 minutes maximum, right? That's the hope spot you give Becky Lynch because you can't buy anything else. And the problem is, you call out women's wrestling for not being good enough, you get called a sexist. You get disparaged as being a sexist. No. I'm sorry. It's just not good enough. And it's just taking up space. It's taking up air. It doesn't belong. Just keep the other women wrestlers as jobbers, with a few exceptions. There was a match that Rhea Ripley had at Survivor Series against a woman wrestler. She looked decent. She looked like the sort of wrestler who could have a competitive match. Like you build her up. You can build someone like that up. I can't remember who she was, right? But you have the worthy female talents built up, and you have the unworthy ones squashed, right? As enhancement talent. Becky Lynch is enhancement talent. Charlotte Flair's enhancement talent, and Asuka is enhancement talent. And I think Asuka's really pretty. Actually, I really fancy her. Right? She's like because I've got yellow fever. But I can see pretty women anywhere. Enhancement talent. You build up Rhea Ripley as the star. She's the megastar. But oh no, women's revolution. Shove this down your throat, taking up space, taking up air. Oh, you're a sexist pig if you don't like it. No, fuck you. Fuck you, WWE. Yeah? It's just not good enough. Modern wrestling is not good enough. And I'm not a nitpicker. I love old wrestling. It's just not good enough. Modern wrestling, there's this talk about this big improvement from the WWE. To me, it's not good enough. It's not good enough. Alright. Over and out.